Okay, I think we can get started. Hello, everyone, and thank you all for tuning into the webinar. We're going to be talking about simplifying and streamlining your tech architecture to boost business performance, which is a topic of real importance in these economically troubled times. We'll be taking Q&As at the end, so if anyone has any questions at any point, please use the Q&A button that you should see at the bottom of your Zoom console, and we'll get to them at the end. And before handing over to our speakers who will take you through the presentation, I'm going to give them a quick introduction myself. So we have Fauzi Fares, the Principal Business Solution Architect at CloudSense and one of our founding members. And we also have Vish Kumar, CloudSense's VP of Industry Solutions, who has previously worked with the likes of Optus and Telstra in fields ranging from sales and operations to finance and business improvement. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to them. So take it away, Vish and Fauzi.
Thanks, Ed. So today we're going to talk about a few things about keeping it simple. And the reason we want to talk about that is the market that we're in right now. There's a lot of transformation we're talking about, and the business transformation is still something that's highly contested in terms of what is going on in the CSP market. When we look at the business transformations that we're focusing on right now, we can see that the focus is around the end-to-end journey and how do we actually remove a lot of waste in that end-to-end journey and ensuring that we can keep our salespeople on the run and moving, but also providing a different experience for our customers, which is something that they've been demanding for a very long time. One of those key elements with that is around self-service and ensuring that we lead with a full digital experience, but also enabling them to do things on their own, in their own time, when they want, how they want. And that's some of the key things that we've come to at CloudSense. So CloudSense comes with a pedigree of digital transformation. We are a team of over 350 people spread right across the world. And we've got some really key customers that we've worked with over the years, especially in the telco space, where we've made some substantial transformations where we can see them now come to life in multiple different ways, especially in that B2B market. I'm going to hand to Fauzi, and he's going to take us through some of the key things that we should look at for digital transformations.
Thanks, Vish. So before, I guess, we get into the architecture and how to simplify things, we wanted to have a look at some of the pitfalls, some of the problems that that these transformations encounter, I should say, when organizations embark on such large transformations. The first thing that comes to mind is quite often people are trying to recreate what they already have rather than start thinking from a blank sheet what it is that is the problem that I have and how to solve that problem. They try to recreate what they have, maybe with a little bit of tweaks to it. And that obviously shackles you to what you had in the past and the problems of the past. Quite often, we are technology centric. We do evaluations of software that promise a lot, and we focus on technological buzzwords to bring into our space because that's what everybody else is doing, rather than actually focusing on what it is that is actually going to bring us business value. Looking at features rather than the value that we're bringing in with whatever solution we're actually bringing in. So focusing on, I need this particular feature, rather than what do we want actually the business to benefit from, and how do we want the business to run in the first place as a business process. Other organizational problems that these transformations encounter is everything must be changed at the same time. The whole end-to-end process needs to be changed all in one go, whether that is in the billing system, in the provisioning systems, in the commercial systems, and we should not do anything in isolation, even though some things could be improved on their own without actually the other parts needing to change at that time. But we shackle ourselves with all the problems of the other parts in order for us to say that we've done the whole thing end to end. And then finally, again, from an organizational point of view, committee decision making. We basically try to run these transformations as a democracy because we fear that they're not going to be accepted, because quite often change is not accepted. And we end up having to do those by asking everybody whether they agree or not. But that is not really beneficial for the organization. What you do need to do from that point of view is think about how can I drive change into the organization, and what level of change can I drive, and who is best positioned to actually drive such change? How can I empower certain sets of people to simplify my business processes, but at the same time, drive that change into the organization because they are trusted? I'm not going to concentrate on the last two because they are organizational change, and we can talk about them in other webinars if you like. But what we are going to concentrate on are the first three items, which are really system focused and architecture focused. And this is where we wanted to talk to you about today, and where CloudSense can bring value to you. But I don't want to initially speak about CloudSense. I want to speak generically about these transformations and what you're trying to get out of them. Quite often, organizations talk about CPQ-driven transformations. What exactly do they really mean? And why do they use CPQ in that sense? What is it that we're trying to actually achieve in these transformations? It can be boiled down to three main things. If you think about all the problems that you might have, if you can focus on delivering these three main goals, then you would solve these problems, because all of these problems typically will funnel into one of these channels. Your organizations are trying to innovate ahead of the competition. What do we mean? We want to be able to commercially innovate and generate commercial offerings to the market, combine our offerings together, form bundles of things, combine them with products that are from within our organizations and products from outside of the organization, to bring innovative offerings to the market, to be able to compete in the marketplace, to be able to be ahead of the competition in the marketplace, and to be able to react quickly to changes in the market so that we don't lose our customers to our competition. At the same time, we want to ensure that our salespeople and our customers, when they are coming through self-service channels, are focused on the commercials initially, at least, in order for us to be able to close deals quickly. We want to ensure that the user journeys that they are presented with are commercially focused, so that they focus on closing deals and ensuring that the customer is signed up. But to do that, the offerings themselves need to be commercially focused, and the user journeys that drive the user through the order capture process need to be commercially focused. And then finally, you need to be able to deliver accurately, because if you can innovate and you can be so commercially focused, your amazing user journeys drive deals so quickly, but if you can't deliver them, those deals will dry up very quickly. We need to be able to send down to the provisioning systems and to the billing systems the right information, so that we can actually deliver and bill the things that we are selling. If we can achieve these three things, then we are in a pretty good position. So we call this quite often, so we've got these goals, and we quite often say we want to do a CPQ transformation to achieve this. But what exactly is CPQ? It is simply configure, where you're configuring a set of products, selecting them from a product catalog and configuring them so that they are exactly what you want to purchase or what you want to sell, price them, and then quote them. That itself is a very simple, small part of actually what you need to implement as a process, as an end-to-end solution, in order for you to be able to deliver on the goals that we just talked about. Because if you don't have a product catalog, a commercial product catalog that is focused commercially, that feeds into the CPQ and the order capture journey, the ability to decompose that order that you captured into commercial components that can then be sent down to downstream systems and delivered, then you will not be able to actually achieve this. Because if you have just a CPQ that then needs to be able to communicate with foreign objects and foreign entities that are part of your ecosystem, then you start needing to integrate all of these components, and they start needing to understand each other. And that's difficult. That's not simple. And this is one of the places where things start going wrong in these integrations. But even this process is not on its own sufficient to be able to deliver what we just talked about, these goals that we just talked about. It is actually even more complex than that, because you need a place within this process to be able to enrich these commercially focused deals with information that are required for you to be able to deliver later. And you need to be able to speak to the downstream systems, but you need to be able to speak a language that they will understand. Because if they can't understand what you've done, then you can't deliver it accurately. And so we get into here a problem of how do we deliver this if we don't speak the language of these downstream systems, and the downstream systems don't know what we've innovated on. On top of that, we need a system that allows us not just to place orders, but to be able to modify an order even when it's in flight, meaning we haven't delivered it yet. The customer has submitted the order, but they decide that they want to make changes. Or indeed, we decide as the people provisioning, as the service provider, we decide that there's a change required here. We need to speak to the customer about, and we need to affect the change into the order and then carry on. But you might have already started the provisioning process, the delivery process, and you need to somehow understand where you're at in that process, affect the change that is required, and then continue the process with a sensible entry point, so that you're not actually jeopardizing the consistency of the order that you have accepted from the customer in the first place, and the provisioning process that you've initiated. And then certainly, because as telcos, we are selling mostly subscription products. We do sell other products as well, but mostly subscription products. We need to run the life cycle of those subscriptions. We need to manage the lifetime of that subscription and changes to that subscription. And that entails speaking back to the catalog, to the CPQ, to be able to effectively make those changes, price them correctly, ensure the right choices are being made, and the right upgrades or downgrades or cease or renewals are being done correctly, apply the correct pricing, and then go from there. So the process itself is fairly complex in order to achieve such transformations, and boiling it down to just simply saying CPQ transformation sets you up for disappointment later, because you're not really putting into your plans exactly what it takes to deliver such a transformation, but also it focuses you on the wrong thing from a technology point of view, and then thinking that everything else will just simply hold together quite nicely because you've already got pieces in place. You need to think about these things when you're starting these transformations. But systems are great. You can purchase something off the shelf and they have lots of promises that tell you, we're going to deliver all of this to you. But there are some architectural principles that need to be followed, regardless of the system that you're in. If you were to deliver on the 3 goals that we just talked about earlier, that will enable your transformation to be successful, then you need to actually ensure that these architectural principles are actually at the heart of the system or systems that you are engaging with to affect this transformation, to implement this transformation. So what are these? Data-driven product modeling. How are you going to actually enable innovation if you don't enable your business users to be able to actually innovate themselves? If every single time a business user wants to innovate and get something out to the market, a new bundle, a new price, a new commercial offering, even just renaming and repackaging certain technical products into a new commercial offering, they would need to go to IT, run a project in IT to be able to effectively do that. And we've seen such projects that take 6 months just for a small change to happen in your commercial offerings. You need the ability for the system to allow business users to change data that drive the system, drive the models, drive the rules that actually then implement the commercial offerings and implement the rules around those commercial offerings. But you need the business person to be able to innovate in that way via data and drive the system with data. We need to be able to ensure that while we're commercially focused and we're building our commercial offerings and the user journeys associated with them to be commercially focused and hone in on the deal making, we still need to be able to capture information that is non-commercial. It's non-commercial, but essential to the delivery of the deal. If you don't capture it, and you don't capture it at the right time in the process by the right people, then you will jeopardize your ability to deliver, or your focus not being commercially focused in the first place to do the deal. And so where you model these non-commercial information and how you expose them in your user journey is really, really important. And then finally, intelligently decoupling your systems. What does that really mean? Why am I decoupling the systems? They need to speak to each other. Well, let's imagine a world where you've got your commercial catalog and the business, the product managers and the pricing managers are innovating in this catalog. And they create weird and wonderful things in that catalog. But we need to be able to tell the downstream systems what those things are. And typically what has happened in the past is that we have had to model those things in the downstream systems or model them in the commercial system in the image of the downstream systems in order for these systems to be able to speak to each other. That is called very tight coupling between the systems. And what you get with very tight coupling between the systems is lack of innovation. Because as soon as you say, in order to release a new commercial offering or a change to commercial offering, you need to make a change into this system, this system, this system. Quite often, systems that are very difficult to change, then basically you've completely inhibited innovation. And that's a problem. We need to intelligently decouple these things and then recouple them in a way that makes sense from the point of view that we're not going to affect and inhibit commercial innovation and commercially focusing the user on the thing that we want them to do, which is deal making. But at the same time, we want to pass the correct information down to the downstream systems. So how should the architecture think about that? We need to be able to decouple them, but then give the responsibility to the commercial system, which is where the change is happening very often, to speak down to those systems that don't change very often, like the provisioning system and the billing system, to pass the information in the language that those systems actually understand. Because only like that will your 3 goals be able to be achieved. Only like that will you be able to achieve true commercial innovation that allow you to release products in hours and days, not in weeks and months. Only like that are you able to collect not just the commercial information that is important for deal making, but also the non-commercial information that is important for delivery. And only like that will you be able to make sure that even though the systems are not being updated, the downstream systems are not being updated when the commercial system is being changed, you are still able to send the correct information down to the downstream systems in the correct language that they understand. It's really key that we look at these architectural principles in whatever system we're evaluating in order to ensure that we achieve the goals of the transformation. Because if we don't do that, we're not going to achieve the goals of this transformation. So now let's talk about CloudSense a little bit. That's exactly what CloudSense does. CloudSense looked at what architecture is actually important first before we delivered our system. We based our systems and our end-to-end process and our end-to-end solution based on these principles, because we were trying to not deliver a system to our customers, not deliver components of systems to our customers. We were trying to deliver a solution to our customers through these components. And so we deliver the commercial product catalog that is able to be to drive with data the CPQ and order capture process from a rules point of view and from a user journey point of view, in order for you to be able to focus the user on deal making, and a product catalog that is able to allow product managers and pricing managers to use data to effectively change the catalog and change the offerings within that catalog, to decompose a deal into its commercial order, and to manage the delivery of that commercial order, to enrich, firstly, I should say, to enrich the order and then decompose it, and to ensure that all of that is done via configuration. You configure these elements and then you drive them with data, and you drive the user journeys with data, so that you can basically control without the process, without having to make IT changes every step of the way as you grow and as your business grows. Then to run the activation process, and at the same time run in-flight changes while you're activating the services, while you're delivering these services, and your subscription in life changes as well. At the same time, ensuring that we are speaking via what we call data orchestration to the downstream systems and sending them the language that they understand that translates the order, the commercial order and the commercial aspects of the order, plus the non-commercial information into language that the downstream systems understand, whether that is the provisioning system, the billing system, or any other system that you need to speak to. We will be able to send the entities that they understand and the characteristics of those entities in the right format down to those systems, so that all you need to do is just simply know your language and we will speak it and you will be able to execute on top of that. Just at a 60,000 feet view of the architecture. So where does CloudSense then live? It lives in the Salesforce ecosystem. I'm not saying force.com because it doesn't just live on force.com. We have quite a few of our components on the high performance Heroku layer within the Salesforce ecosystem. But we integrate very well and very tightly with Salesforce, where there's a need to integrate with Salesforce. And we augment the functionality of Salesforce and the performance of Salesforce where that functionality and performance needs to be augmented. And at the same time, we speak to a layer, an integration layer above or ahead, upstream of the order capture, whether that is availability check, address check, stock check, and so on, and downstream of the order with your provisioning system and your billing system. And we ensure that data flows between these systems are streamlined so that they can feed into the order capture process and the change processes to give you not just the ability to place new provide orders, brand new orders for your customers, but to change your install base, whether that install base, by the way, is sold through CloudSense or indeed through legacy systems. Because if we don't give you a system that allows you to carry out changes on your existing install base, then we failed. That needs to be also at the heart of what the system and the architecture provides to you. This type of architecture provides you simplicity because it allows you to independently make changes in your commercial system without affecting the other systems, without having to make changes to the other systems. And it allows you to ensure that you simplify your integrations, because the actual system that you're implementing is no longer just a CPQ. It needs to be a CPQ that understands how to speak to the order being delivered and the order being alive, or the subscription being alive and wanting to be changed. And all of those things need to be hand in hand together. And if they're not, then you're creating complex integrations. And that's a problem for you. I'll pass over to Vish to talk to you about something that we're quite excited about that helps with this with this process.
Thank you, Fauzi. Yes, this is something that we are at CloudSense extremely excited about. So what we are introducing is CloudSense Telco One. Now, Telco One is a solution as opposed to a product or a platform. The solution provides a full end-to-end solution for the telecoms industry, focused mainly on the B2B sector. We provide you with this solution with a fully documented business high-level design, technical designs as well, and even user instructions and functional configuration documents for using this particular solution. This is something that CloudSense has spent a lot of time thinking about and working on over the years, and we're really, really proud to introduce you today. But let me take you a little bit deeper in terms of what you actually get from Telco One and how does it actually assist your business. So Telco One provides a solution for your whole B2B channel. Your assisted and your partner channels are built into the platform or into the solution itself. The tele support or your telesales teams is also supported. Within the solution, you've also got some inbuilt processes that Fauzi's already talked about that leverage our core platform. So you have new, you have MACD, and you also have in-flight pre-built. And to work with all of that, you also have the product models that we're focused on that we see typically within the B2B space around SD-WAN, mobile, IPVPN, connectivity, hosted voice and voice. But we also have pre-built integration. So knowing that your architecture is going to need to integrate downstream, upstream, and then also to those other things to help you in your sales journey all the way through. Coming soon, we will be adding our online APIs to this as well. So we'll provide you a full omni-channel experience out of the Telco One solution. But none of this goes away in terms of our core CloudSense, CPQ, solution selling, advanced pricing, deal optimization, and product lifecycle side of things. All the core products that you've grown to love over the years and what we're known for doesn't go away. They become the key things that enable us to have this fantastic solution available in the market. But when we dig deeper in terms of what does that really mean for your sales process, Telco One looks at your process not just from the point of the configuration time, when we need a price and when we need to order. We looked at it all the way through from when you actually start talking to your customer in the lead stage. So when you are in Salesforce and you start configuring that lead and starting to work through and nurture that customer, Telco One starts looking at those key things and allowing you to start doing quick budgetary quotes right from the lead. And then it supports you all the way through all of those key things that you require as a B2B telco, right the way through to submitting the order and managing that particular customer for their life cycle with you. So Telco One covers a lot of key things that we would expect out of a B2B, and we've built them all in. You have pre-built journeys, quick quote capability. So from a lead, we can actually start quoting customers just on budgetary side of things. We have built-in address management, so you can manage your address right from when you need to in the journey, as opposed to keep going back and forth between the CRM or and into your journey. You can actually do it from inside when you're actually configuring a customer. Multi-site service qualifications. One of the biggest bugbears we've heard over the years is the ability to manage hundreds and thousands of sites and making sure that we can actually deliver our products to them. CloudSense's advanced profitability side of things, we've enhanced that and built that in the platform. The solution also allows for variations, but also it comes with all the great things that we've launched over the years, pre-built in as well. So third-party quoting, bulk subscriber management, and frame agreements, just to name a few as we keep going through Telco One itself. So I guess to talk through it, I'm just going to let the video talk for itself.
With rising operational costs, customers cutting spend, and competition from hyperscalers, telecommunications businesses are under pressure to evolve their business models. But many struggle to achieve their targets, held back by legacy ecosystems and outdated architecture. Telco One by CloudSense optimizes and future-proofs every stage of the concept to cash lifecycle, allowing businesses to break free from system constraints, avoid common delivery pitfalls, and effortlessly handle the high levels of scale and complexity demanded by the modern industry landscape. Honed over 100+ successful transformations, our delivery methodology guarantees lower risk, shorter implementation times, and an increased average customer value from day one. launch products faster, provide more accurate quotes, plan more rigorously, and deliver value sooner with Telco One by CloudSense.
All right, well, thank you, Fauzi and Vish. Thank you for that. We'll get to some questions before we wrap up. There are 3 questions here to go through. I think this first one would be for Fauzi. What is the place of enterprise product catalogs in an architecture, and do they result in simplicity or complexity?
Thank you for the question. If you think about what our enterprise product catalogs are trying to achieve, they're trying to basically say that in one single catalog, you should be able to define everything about the product and then push that information down to multiple systems that need to then act on that product. What does that really mean from the point of view of these different systems that need to then execute on these products? It means that that the enterprise product catalog either needs to understand exactly what these other systems are capable of and be able to know how to model things through the lens of those systems, which is obviously unachievable, or they would have to go down to the lowest common denominator between them in order for them to be able to then achieve this. And so as soon as you bring in an enterprise product catalog, you're adding complexity into your system because you're trying to put something into the architecture that is artificial, because your commercial system needs to be able to be flexible and agile, and needs to allow you to make changes quickly, and those changes to be able to drive the commercial user journey and commercial processes. If you're doing that from the enterprise product catalog, you've already shackled your ability to innovate in this way. And the same is true for the technical system. Your ability to do things in the right way and decompose the product in a technical way, the way that the technical system understands, is shackled by the fact that that technical representation of the product is actually driven from this enterprise product catalog that potentially has no linkage with the technical system. And the same with billing. So you're already putting in an artificial element into this architecture that doesn't really bring value as much as it brings this concept of I want to be able to do everything in one place and push it everywhere. But is it really an architecture that actually delivers simplicity? No, it really delivers complexity, because really what you end up having to do, and we've seen it at quite a few of our customers where they have gone with this notion of architectural purity or technology-focused approach to the transformation, where you've had to insert this artificial element into your architecture and then translate the language of that artificial element, the enterprise product catalog, into the individual systems that are actually doing the work in your architecture. And so, does it bring value? No, we haven't seen it bring value. And I think it's quite demonstrable in many transformations that it hasn't actually brought the value that that this puristic view of the architecture has portrayed in the recent years. I hope that answered the question. I don't know, Vish, whether you want to add anything to that.
No, I think you covered it.
Okay, great, thank you. So another question. You mentioned intelligent decoupling and its benefits, but how will it work with my centralized catalog? Will it force me to duplicate, for example?
Well, no, that's the beauty of this. You're not actually duplicating anything. If you think about it, your commercial, your technical product catalog, right, is the products that you actually deliver. And these things have been there for ages, right? You have had products, technical products that we are delivering in the market for a long time. Some of them last for many years. Some of them are new, as in, they're only a few years old and so on, but they don't change very often. And they have a certain representation in those technical systems that make sense to the technical systems so that they can be delivered repeatedly, right? While in the commercial system, the way you speak about your commercial offerings and the way you present your commercial offerings changes all the time. Even if it is just a name change, you've just changed the name of what you actually have put forward as a proposition to the market, and you potentially have bundled it with something else, or you've defaulted certain bolt-ons and add-ons to that proposition as part of your commercial offering, and you've called it something completely brand new. One day you might call business internet, and another day you might call it the big kahuna. Or you can call it something else, right? But the technical system doesn't need to know about these things. What you're really modeling in the commercial system is these commercial relationships and these commercial offerings. What they map to the technical world is quite often exactly the same. So you're not replicating by creating this architecture. In fact, you're freeing your commercial system to actually innovate. One of your main goals is to be able to innovate, because if you can't innovate, you cannot compete in the market. And so by freeing your commercial system to innovate, yet giving the responsibility for the commercial layer to speak the language of the technical layer when the time comes to actually send down an order, is what actually frees you up to do innovation, to be commercially focused, yet to be able to send the correct information down to the downstream system in their language so that they can accurately deliver it. Only this architecture can actually deliver the desired outcome of the transformation. Notice, I'm not saying only CloudSense. I'm saying only this architecture, because I want you to take this away, I guess, as a clear point. I'm not talking about CloudSense here. I'm talking about generically the architecture, and only this type of architecture actually delivers you these freedoms, or the freedom to deliver the transformations and the goals of that transformation. Anything else that links those systems tightly together, like an enterprise product catalog that says I'm going to actually have the products all modeled in one place and then deliver them everywhere to all systems, you're either ending up having to model the system in the technical view, or you're having to model them in a view that is not commercially focused, so that you then have to create custom logic, custom applications, custom user journeys to be able to commercially focus the user during order capture. Only this architecture that I described actually deliver these benefits to you and allow you to achieve your goals. If you don't, that's what causes your complexity in your transformations. That's what causes your transformations to fail. You can survey any of these transformations. You'll see that these are the points of contention that have caused transformations to take years to deliver anything, and then still they don't deliver the value that they have promised. This is why many people these days question whether CPQ, what they call CPQ transformations, are actually are actually beneficial. Well, they're not beneficial if you just talk about CPQ, and they're not beneficial if you overcomplicate your architecture and the systems that are required to deliver, or you omit systems from that. And they're not beneficial if you don't implement the correct architecture so that you can actually get the aims that you're actually that you're aiming to achieve out of these transformations. I hope that answered that.
Okay, great, thank you. So I think one more and then we'll wrap up, and I think this is one for Vish. So great news on Telco One. There was a slide that mentioned quick quoting capability. Can you recap what that is and how it's different from a normal quote?
Great question. So quick quote is, I guess, a common thing within most industries where we get a customer that rings us and says, hey, I'm looking at an internet service, but I need some pricing and I need it quickly. Can you tell me how much a 10 meg is, a 20 meg, 20 meg, and maybe 50 meg, just need to get some pricing. You've got the basic details of that particular customer. You don't really have all the full configuration details, but it's a conversation to work out whether the customer is real and they're also working out whether they want to buy from you as well. So to save time on both sides, what you end up doing is looking at your price list and emailing it to the customer, or telling them over the phone, or sending a text message. So with Quick Quote, what we've done is built that in the lead function. So we're enabling you to browse your catalog, select the line items you like, create a PDF document, and send them to the customer. The difference now is that it's tracked now in your CRM. You can report on it. But for the sales user, it means that I don't have to go through the full configuration journey, do all the full SQs, etc. for it, or do all the details I need to enter to get to that quote. I only need to do a few steps and I've already given the customer a quote. That means now when I do I log my call and follow up things, it becomes a lot easier to have those conversations with the customer. And we can also track them now in the system to say, okay, this particular customer calls us every 3 months. We know they're just going to be kicking our tires, as opposed to, here's a customer we've been speaking to for 2 months. Let's see how we're going. And we can actually track this out to get to a formal quote and look at all their sites for them. So it's an assistant. It's a short version of a quote. It doesn't have discounting. It doesn't have all the fandangled detail components that you would expect out of a full quote. But that's not to say we can add discounting. It's about saying, here we go. Here is a really quick quote to give you a guidance on price points and also against the products that you're actually asking for.
Okay, great. So just want to say thank you to Vish and Fauzi one more time, and also to the audience for joining and listening in. Obviously, over the coming weeks and months, we'll have various announcements and releases relating to Telco One, which we'll be sure to keep you updated on. But I will sign off by saying I hope you enjoyed the presentation and have a lovely day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.